And we are back on the desk here for Knights Arena Valorant Challengers. Man, I can't speak good. I do the English well. Welcome back here to the desk as we are ready to jump into our second series of the day here for week 4. It's the first day of Split 1 for this 4th week, and we've already seen one team get up. Smack on the behind as M80 came out swinging against Disguise. They're going back and forth with each other on Twitter, but we all know who found the victory that mattered most. And it was M80 who picked up a massive 2-0. Their round differential looking very healthy right now.
Yes.
But let's shift focus to our second series of the day. It's TSM versus OR Esports. And you might remember OR Esports as one of the few teams that's made M80 bleed. They took a map off of them way back in week 1, and it was a surprise to all of us as we expected what we just saw against DSG to happen to OR Esports, but it did go 3 maps in that series. And they're facing off against TSM, who has been reinvigorated. Looking at this TSM roster just last week after the recent change, they look so much better than they did when they started out the split.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, they went from a situation where, they lost to M80 2-0 and, had to win against Mad Lions and looking kind of a little bit all over the place to a team that was able to pull out a 2-0 upset over the Guard last week with their new member, Campeki, coming in as a new 5th, and Gamal taking the in-game leadership. They look like a really strong team tactically, despite only having a short amount of time together with Gamal at the helm. And Gamal doesn't really even have like a huge in-game leadership past. So it was actually really impressive to see how quickly they were able to kind of turn things around and just look like a better quality team in, just a week's time, basically.
I also want to toss in too that TSM did something really cool for us as fans of the esport. They showed us what Group B really was, right? They had that interesting win. We didn't really know what the team looked like against Mad Lions. Then they come in and they just get dusted by M80, which it seems everybody's doing. And then we were kind of thinking, right, M80 and the Guard are going to be at the top, but then TSM come in and they kind of weasel their way into this conversation that maybe the Guard aren't as great as we thought. And so I think with this change in Campeki, this TSM team since last week is just going to continue to ramp up as we look to close out the regular split.
And look, I'll be honest, like this Campeki pickup was one that I was a little bit kind of questioning because when he played with Sentinels last year, he didn't look all that impressive. Now back before that, he certainly did. Like on a crew, for example, he certainly looked like he was a promising guy. That's why Sentinels took a chance on him. But things didn't go well there. But you have to wonder, maybe part of that was the environment. Maybe he just didn't fit in, whatever the case may be. But he comes in after, a pretty long off period of official play. Comes in as a new 5th at TSM, and he is currently in the league right now, number 1, I believe, in assists per round and number 2 in cast. So he quickly made an impact, is the point I'm getting at on this team, and really helped drive them forward against the Guard last week.
I think that most people, when Campeki was picked up by that roster, people were like, wait, who? Yeah. I don't think that a lot of people heard that name and it immediately came to them unless they really paid attention to the Tier 2 scene. So when he under-delivered with that roster, I think people were kind of like, well, duh. I've never heard his name before, so clearly he's not that good. But the reality was he was a strong player. It just didn't work out for him in that system. I was concerned that we could see something like that play out again here, but obviously that's not the case. But again, small grain of salt, it was just one match. We haven't seen enough of him yet to really stamp that opinion solidly.
I want to just caveat on top of Campeki while we're still on this topic of his kind of the steps that he took to success, right, was a really strong performance basically all the time when playing with a crew, and then he just immediately gets thrown into this roster that not only is an incredibly strong roster, a lot of people were raising their heads, their eyebrows about it, and then you just have this fan base, right? Outside of how strong Sentinels were as a roster, you have this fan base that there's so much pressure. Not that there's any less pressure here, but he's already tasted that. So now on TSM, I think he's not really feeling that fan pressure, right? He also is one of those players, like we're seeing with these roster changes that are happening, in the middle of the split, that nobody's expecting Campeki to come through and just be incredible and drop 50 and get 500 ACS. Nobody's expecting that. So I think that the pressure is just on the rest of TSM to make him work in the roster versus him making it work.
Now, on the flip side, you've got an OR Esports team who, honestly, I gotta say, I think this team is a lot better than their record would indicate. When you look at them, everyone goes, oh, yeah, again, same factor as Campeki, basically. They go, who? It's that nameless factor that a lot of teams coming in from qualifiers suffer from. Now, some of these players do have playing history. Even Mummy mentioned playing with some of them on his time with Ambox and New York Fury. but it wasn't necessarily high-level play. Now, they did manage to find a map win over M80, which is impressive when you've seen what's happened to other teams facing off against M80. But I actually want to look at their last series against Disguised as almost a more impressive feat, even though they don't win. Back-to-back maps into overtime. They have serious fighting and staying strength. They were down 8-4 both times they took it to OT. They won only one of those maps, but they were just a round away from closing out Pearl and taking the series 2-1 themselves.
Yeah, OR Esports is just a tough one to read, right? Because they're another one of these teams for this league that were kind of just brand new rosters with no real core coming into the roster building process. I mean, yeah, Jonas 6 and Lear had played with each other, on Zero Marksman Black, and prior to that, you mentioned already the Ambok situation. But then everybody else on this team comes from different academy teams. Like Pure and Zeldris comes from Knights Academy. Nilly comes from the Cloud9 Academy after having played for YFP and Squirtle Squad for a bit. And all we really got to see was what they did in qualifiers, which, to be honest with you, like, they didn't really do that great in qualifiers. Like, they did well enough to get here, obviously, but they did lose to Turtle Troop, which has been one of the other weaker teams in the league, and they beat Sonics, in kind of a tight series to make it to the league. And then once they got here, they've gone 0-3. Yeah, they've gotten a map on M80. Yeah, they've gotten a map on Disguised. But, I mean, they just haven't really been able to do anything consistently. And it's kind of damning that this is actually their best player, and this is the stats that he's got. Like, they don't really have a guy who's out there, like, really towing the line and being, like, a big star player yet. They have a bunch of guys who are pretty solid, and, there are times where they look like they're getting their acts together, but they just haven't been able to really figure out, like, the fine-tuning of the mid to late round scenarios to be able to actually take a series down yet.
Yeah, but I want to go back to these stats, Dust, because these are what his stats look like. It's not the most impressive in the world. It's not the best, but these are the stats after he had to try and pad them against DSG after getting whomped by the guard and by M80, right? This OR team, nobody on this team at this point in the game should have any good stats because they started in the negative. It wasn't until week 3 that we really saw players like Zeldris actually have their time to shine.
Sure.
Yeah. Zeldris is, like, I think 12th from the bottom in rating. I think, like, when you look at the stats, everyone else is beneath them. They've got multiple players in bottom 5 of considerable stat categories, things like ACS, KD, cast percentage, ADR, all of those measurables that we typically use to look at players and what they bring to the server. They're in the bottom 5 in a lot of those categories, and they're just not hitting the mark. And yet still, they almost won a series against DSG. They did take a map off Anime 80. I feel like, honestly, and this is a hot take, and I said it before the show, if you put this team in Group A, they could have 2 wins right now. Just saying.
I disagree. Like, I think that Moist Moguls would beat this team. I think maybe some of the other ones, maybe you could have a debate about it. But honestly, I think it is fair to kind of wrap back around to kind of what y'all two have been kind of alluding to, and let's just call it what it is. The strength of schedule for them was difficult out the gate, especially for a team that's coming from qualifiers, that doesn't have a core, to their roster, doesn't have a whole lot of history playing together. I mean, again, maybe like a pair of players play together over here, another pair of players play together over there, but not as a whole unit, right? And so I do want to give them a little bit of leeway on their performance, just kind of considering that fact that they're so fresh and that they had such a tough opening 2 weeks with the teams that they had to play against. And I do think that there's a chance that they could show us something better than what we've seen prior in this series coming up.
There is a stat category they do lead, and it's rounds for clutch opportunities. 113 out of 162 rounds, they're in a clutch scenario, which is not a stat category you really want to be in the lead of. That's with 70% of the rounds almost where they end up in a 1vx situation. And unfortunately, they're only winning 11% of those. That's 18 rounds total out of 113. So it kind of illustrates the problem that you had mentioned earlier, Dust. The mid to late round is definitely proving to be problematic. Even the early round, they're just going down bodies and forcing themselves into those positions. But we will take a look at the maps. There's maybe a world where the map pool works out well for OR. We have seen them, again, find success on maps like Pearl, which is why it's probably not going to be played. TSM taking care of Pearl. They don't want anything to do with that. You're going to see Lotus banned as well, which is not entirely surprising. I'm pretty sure OR banned that one last week as well. So we're going to be going to Haven and then to Split. And then we'll see Icebox and Fracture banned and then Ascent to close out the day. Should we need it, though? Tanner, I mean, looking at this, Haven, potentially a pretty good map here for
Yeah.
Both teams, I mean, we saw OR Esports have some serious fight. They obviously beat Disguised 14-12. Split is a question mark for them. I feel like their performance in the previous week was not really all that great against Disguised.
Yeah, this to me, again, if OR are going to get it done, I think it happens in 3 maps. We go all the way to Ascent, which I think Haven and Ascent are relatively good maps for OR Esports. I also think at this point in the split, when your kind of back's against the wall, you can play just incredibly careless. You can't, not careless, but you can just play with no pressure. And I'm hoping that that's what we see. Yes, exactly. So although Split is a weird pick, I would imagine TSM was watching close last week. I do want to remind everybody that Split was the map that OR wanted to play last week. So I'm wondering if there was a little bit in the vetoes of saying like, hey, we're going to lull them into this because we know how to fix the mistakes that we made against DSG on that map.
Yeah, but we talked about it last week too, right, Dust? We talked about the ace in the hole, like that strategy of picking a map that maybe someone wasn't necessarily prepared for. If you were going to do that here, wouldn't Lotus be that map selection? We've seen so many teams shy away from it. I'm surprised that we actually haven't seen someone just go, you know what? Backs against the wall, like you said. We're just going to try this and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at the map pool, I'm a little bit more concerned, right? Because, you know, the first map is Haven. Honestly, you know, OR has lost 4 of their last 6 games on that map. And then when you look over at Split, they've only played it once, and it was a pretty massive defeat against Disguise. So, like, it's not like a strong case for them when you look at this map pool. But to be fair, the sample size is kind of small. And also to be fair, when you look at TSM, it's not like they seem to be some type of like mega boss or something like that in these opening 2 maps in their own right. Like, we haven't really seen them play either map very much, right? I think the only time that we saw them play Haven was a loss against the Guard. And then Split, I'm trying to think. I don't think they have played it yet this season. It's particularly with this new roster, obviously.
Well, who wants to hear a bunch of nerds on a desk talk about video games? Not this guy, these two. No one wants that. We'd much rather hear from the players and hear their perspective. We had a chance to sit down with members of TSM and OR Esports to talk about their upcoming match. Let's take a look.
But we kind of took it on the chin, and we're just going to have to move. The preparation in the split has been going pretty good. Unfortunately, we had to play like really strong teams in the first 2 matches, but we kind of took it on the chin, and we're just gonna have to move forward for the remaining matches that we have in the split, and we'll see what we can do then.
Make sure that we're coming into practice every day, like 100% ready to give it like everything into it, just because like these days really matter to us, you know. We haven't had like the time to prep, especially with a new player, so we definitely need to like make the most of our time and just really get on the gear.
Yeah, as an IGL, it's been a little hard with like not much practice, but that's where my individual like grind has really been coming in. So like I just do a lot of like VOD review and stuff, and I just try to get better at like microing other players. So like when I recognize situations in game, I'm able to like call the mid round based off that, and just improve on my calling.
I don't think our prep is really going to change, like I said, moving forward against any of these other remaining teams. I feel like we're going to follow our game plan that we know and trust, and just play our game, and it's just that simple, and just move forward from there.
Especially with these teams that are, I guess, like less structure based, you know, like they don't have as much foundation. They work a lot of like confidence, and it's very snowbally as well. So I think like the best team to beat like any quote unquote like pug team or anywhere like that, just like shut down their ideas early, and then just kind of let them get into their own head.
If you're an underdog, which I think they are, I think pretty fair to say they're underdogs, you just have to like try to make sure that you don't let too many rounds like swing on their side, because they have momentum. They're young, as you said, a young team. You have to make sure that you keep the control of the game. Don't let them like run away with dumb stuff. If you lose a couple rounds, take a timeout and just try to. You don't want to let them have any momentum.
I'm not sure. Against TSM, I personally don't have them as like a super crazy team or anything. I think they have like a lot of individual plays, and they strive like mechanically. But overall as a team, I'm not too worried about TSM, honestly.
I would hope that we're a bit more prepared when it comes to that match. I think there'll be like more of a like we need to make something work for them to win. So I think yes, but for different reasons and for different like. But I also think there's a way that they play shy and play not to lose. So we'll see how they come out of it.
Probably like a lot of chaos, honestly. I feel like they're also going to be like a pretty aggressive team. So it's just like aggressive versus aggressive, and it's like rounds will be over in like 10 seconds kind of thing. So, you know, it'll be fun.
Well, we've scrimmed TSM a couple times, and I feel like, yeah, like our play style, I think we can catch TSM off guard a lot, and I think overall, I think we're actually the better team.
Yeah, I don't have a strong message against them. I don't have like a very, I don't know them enough and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'll be ready with my roster, like not like I radar too much, making sure I'm ready if someone peeks me. But yeah, I mean, I want them to win every game except this one. So good luck to them.
For TSM, my message is just good luck, have fun, I guess. I don't got much to say other than that. I really like Seven, Nature. You know, I think they're all really good guys and, you know, good friends. Just good luck, have fun.
Message to TSM, have to be free SM.
I have a friend over there actually. So I have a friend called Zeldris. He's my friend. I know him since like all the CS days. So I mean, like, good luck, bro. That's all I have to say.
Good luck, have fun from the OR Esports side, and good luck from Seven to Zeldris. Both a couple of young guns coming into this series. In this one, it has big implications for TSM. They want to continue to cement themselves higher in the list here for Group B Dust, and for OR Esports. I guess, well, maybe not for OR Esports, but for the Disguise fans that are watching, they're hoping that this is anything but that for TSM.
Yeah, certainly. And one of the big things that you're seeing with TSM, with Campeki coming into the team, is not only has Guimond take over the IGL role, he is now back to playing controllers, which is a role that he was very familiar with back in the day. So it's kind of cool to see him back in controllers. I feel like that's where he's always been the most comfortable. And I think that's like one of the key pivots that has helped TSM thrive, is kind of getting him into that position, and then Campeki coming in as that flex, and then everyone else just kind of stays the same, right? The test will really be the fact that Guimond is not an experienced IGL, had success last week against the Guard for an upset, but, you know, maybe, I think when you become an IGL like that, sometimes the stress really comes over time, not right at the very beginning of your career doing that. So I'll be curious to see how that works. And also, I did hear kind of a rumor that like Jonah was passing off the IGL role, maybe to Nilly or something like that. So there could be something going on over there as well that needs to be kind of kept an eye on.
Yeah, Neely, pretty historically an IGL for the teams that he has been a part of, trying to be maybe not the tip of the spear. That role is tossed on over to Zeldris, but just hoping to make sure that that spear weaves in and out of combat proficiently. That dart immediately dealt with. It's Corey out to grab that early orb, looking to get the Blade Storm online. Meanwhile, it's mid control here for OR Esports as they flirt with this B site momentarily.
Yeah, definitely looking to try to get in here as quickly as possible. They jump up on top of the smoke to get Zeldris into an elevated position as the spike goes down. It was a retake setup for TSM on this side as they were looking very A-heavy early. So now it's all about, can you get the retake to work or not?
I mean, look at the two attackers all the way in the spawn, right? The players here on the site, unfortunately, not in the best situation as Nature quickly makes work of three. Turret, you get the information that the players are here. Front sight, looking to defuse this spike. Unfortunately, 4 players still alive against Nilly here, and it's hard to IGL your way out of this position. And Seven will hop onto the spike. Pure being asked, gonna find a couple of kills, make it 3. No way! Pure just did that!
My goodness, man. It looked like TSM were about to have that retake happen. It's one of the things that can happen on Haven when you plant B and everyone is post-planting for middle. You don't have any garage control. You don't have control of any of the link areas. It can sometimes make it very difficult as an attacking team to stop that spike from being diffused where you're just kind of surrendering so much control all around the B site. But somehow, some way, despite the fact that TSM was kind of mowing them down on the site after the plant, Pure comes back around for a quad and completely turns around on its head. I mean, that is an impressive individual move there to kind of save the day and get them out in front early.
And a player that we maybe didn't mention as much, right? A player that was activated last week, and I think much more so with Campeki on this roster, is Nature. Does good for 3 kills on the round. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough. Recon bolt early. They're expecting the aggression. GMD only able to find 1. So OR Esports mitigate the damage dealt. It's just your duelist going down. That's a lot of the times Zeldris' job, so helps take the space. Now they'll take the side of player backside, and Campeki all on his lonesome as he waits for 7 here.
Oh.
Okay, free gun, by the way. We've seen the right clicks do good things, and unfortunately, Campeki gives up just a bit too much of the shoulder the way of Nilly. And with that, I'm wondering what information they have as to where 7 is playing. It seems like they know that he's coming on the flank. So they'll back away to play spawn.
Yeah, really smart move by them, thinking this is the most common area that he could be coming from, and they're going to stick together as well to make sure they can trade. Obviously, this grab well is going to really stall out this defusal process from 7, as he doesn't really know where they could be. Obviously, gets pulled off, not going to be able to get it halfway.
Yeah, leaked out of the grab well. Both players to swing here. 7, just too many angles to worry about in that situation. So the anti-eco, it goes as expected. The round win goes away of OR Esports, but a pure victory, at the very least. At what cost? This bonus round is going to be hurting.
Yeah, that was pretty well done by OR Esports as far as how they played out the final stage of the round, but definitely lost to Konpeki a few bodies that they were probably looking to be a little bit more efficient with. Obviously, this initial scenario, pretty good trade 3-for-1 in that situation, but again, Konpeki kind of got caught a couple of extra. Makes it a little bit more costly than they wanted it to be. That means it's going to be a much lighter bonus. You have people actually sticking with pistols because of that. So that could be a chance for TSM to pounce right back.
Full buy. And, well, not a fully vacant site. I thought 7 might try and leave as a dash into garage. Zeldris going to look to take that space. 7 still here on the site. Beautiful paranoia across the site, and the spray comes through. And 7 finds 2. Now, unfortunately, stuck in a tough situation as Pure and GMD going to trade kills back and forth. Unfortunately for OR Esports, the bodies, they've all fallen. These pistols, the SMGs, they just weren't enough. And 7 damn near solo holds this C site for TSM's first.
Yeah, that was actually a little bit confusing because they stun the site, but then Zeldris dashes garage rather than trying to punish anyone who may have gotten hit by the stun. So you did see that the TSM member holding the site did indeed get hit by the vault line, but there was no follow-up to punish it, and instead TSM just kind of slowly gathered back control of the site and used the superior firepower to get the dub. So this seemed a little awkward there. I think there was a missed opportunity. Either way, we're all square on firepower now and 1 round apart.
All square. Pure also going to have that Cosmic Divide online. It's seeming like another B hit. And with that, GMD is going to toss out one of those dark covers. It's like 1 of 2. So 1 went out towards A lobby. This one here at the front of B. Same stars go down. Konpeki on the site here. Aftershock. Maybe looking to slow things down for a second. Konpeki able to hang on to his life after he deals with the Recon Bolt. And with that, OR Esports now reeling in it. Going to try and head elsewhere, but they're running right into the microwave. We saw what 7 did last time.
Indeed we did, and he's playing the corner right now. He's going to start getting some support, but that Cosmic Divide is blocking Konpeki from truly being able to help him out. It's all about whether they check their corners or not, and they do, but it's an equal exchange on the kill feed thus far.
Yeah, unfortunately, Zeldris just a little quicker than the play, quicker than they wanted it to be. Konpeki collects 3 kills on the round, leaving it all up to the newly appointed IGL here for OR Esports. And 1v3, and that spike is just out of reach. So Nilly in a tough spot to try and clutch this round out. And this is one of the many clutches that OR Esports find themselves in.
Yeah, that Nano Swarm didn't get deep enough as well to flush Konpeki out of position, so he kind of missed a chance to try to get a 1v1 duel there. And so now he's still left in a very difficult 1 versus 3 with a spike in a position that's very easily watched by both Corey and Konpeki, and he doesn't have really any time either.
10 seconds left.
Got one.
Okay, allowed the first. Stun reveals the position of Konpeki, but as you said, time now of the essence. It's only kills here for Nilly that will win the round. And he finds 2 of 3. Nature plays the waiting game, backs away from the site, and TSM ties up.
Have all square on the board now. A couple of ults are in play now for Konpeki and 7. Lear, though, has that hard ult to counter the lockdown of 7, though, with that Hunter's Fury in tow. But weaponry not really available for OR Esports here, so an opportunity for TSM to kind of grab back a lead as you're having a couple of stingers having to be forced out here on the attacking side. Looks like they want to try to go for something hot and heavy at A, and I mean, TSM might be greeting them. They're kind of loaded up in that same position.
And this weaponry, not the best. GMD smoke down, picks up 3, and makes it away to safety. OR Esports just can't do a single thing here, even in the eco round where players are stacked up, they have strength in numbers. It means absolutely nothing thanks to GMD.
Now the high-low peak as well to finish things off as soon as Lear decides he wants to take a check over at the A side. He's going to be in a tough spot. And that's just one of those situations where you had both people looking to fight for the same thing as quickly as possible. And TSM just had so much utility between the fault line and the paranoia to really wreak havoc inside A lobby and set Command up for that triple. And so now Lear, not much left to do. He's got Spike, and that's about the only thing that's on his side.
Lear's thinking, unfortunately, that he has the timing on this. Thinking that they spotted him crossing to leave the A site. But TSM, wise to the play, a third round on the board. But now we finally get to see that equal firepower back and forth. Unfortunately, actually, yeah. Let's take another look here. GMD getting a little lucky on the third. Obviously, the Stingers stunned up a little bit worse than the Phantom stunned up. But something that I think that everybody needs to pay attention to, right, is the balance of Hunter's Fury and Lockdown. And when these are available, Lear just uses Hunter's Fury.
Yeah, exactly.
So if this round goes sideways for TSM, 7 will always have that linchpin.
Yep. Yep, they come into this with 3 ults or with none. Economy very fragile as well for ORs. Corey getting super aggressive at middle. He will get spotted by the turret. No one there to peek window, though, to really punish him, so he's able to fall back pretty easily. As OR just kind of getting spammed at and kind of held at bay towards their spawn right now, but looking to try to start taking some mid-control at this point.
Pure on the angle here, expecting some aggression. Timing, narrowly escaping. Tosses down the star. Will now go back on the angle. GMD takes a bit of damage before backing away from it all. And OR Esports, I mean, still struggling to figure out where they want to end up here on the map. The B site, the A site, a little bit weaker in terms of defenders. TSM heavily leaned here to the left side of the map.
Yeah, I mean, they felt like they could try to take Garage after spotting that aggression over at Long C, but they kind of missed the timing. Some good counter utility from TSM thrown at Garage to kind of keep them at bay. And so really what's happened is TSM's dictating the pace of this round on all fronts. They're the ones kind of poking and prodding and being aggressive. They're willing to play retake on A. They've killed a lot of clock. OR has not really taken too much space. Now they're finally going for the C split, but there's already a pretty good rotation here from TSM.
Yeah, they were hoping that TSM had rotated off of this after OR Esports cut noise. 7 gonna get fished through the cloud burst. Maybe some more behind it. It's Jonah and Nilly taking this C site, refusing to allow TSM onto it. They shut the door in their face. Kempeki is here to try and battle it back, and now he has to do it all himself. The time was ticking. The round will go the way of OR. We're all tied up.
Yeah, that was an interesting round because TSM were doing a lot of good things early to kind of poke at the attacking side and not give them really any space to work with. Again, countering the C Garage early. But OR eventually kind of waited it all out, gathered up together, ran the C split, and traded very efficiently on the site. That's going to put us back to square. Now they have the lockdown available, so we could be seeing dueling lockdowns in around here soon. Looks like we're going to see, once again, TSM trying to go for that aggressive A lobby setup. This time around, though, OR isn't really gunning for it early.
Now mid control the name of the game once more. Same turret out towards mid. No information garnered. The rest of the team will push behind it. Meanwhile, it's not Corey to get aggressive this time. It's looking to be 7. So he steps up on his front foot. He's got GMD in tow. The B site once more. Might just be pressured here. Bars are down. Recon Bolt is out. Killjoy Utilities here. Zeldris is going to take the site. Couple of shots sent through the link. Lockdown also used, but as you said, dueling lockdown eminent here in this round as the paranoia comes through. Pure VNS tries to punish the push out towards mid. It's him who gets punished instead. Looking at 2 players. That lockdown subsides. Nobody detained. Now OR Esports essentially corralled here. Inside the link, 2 players will go. There's that lockdown in response. And Zeldris and Lear, they're going to have to step forward here. Jonah also looking to do it. So a 3v2 here inside the link. Operator in hand, dashes on, nothing spotted just yet. Instead, it's Corey to get spotted. It's Kempeki to bail him out. The backstab comes through from GMD. The long con finally pays off. And the retake, it was swift and it was perfect. It's a flawless round here for TSM.
Yeah, what you saw there was TSM be able to get Corey into sewers so he could just solo hold a lobby position, and it allowed them to kind of rotate everyone back off over towards B link. And what it also gave them was more personnel at middle, so even when the lockdown came down, they had people in place to look for a fight before escaping the detainment, and they were able to get that quick 5-on-4. Then they're able to put their own lockdown in place. And they know exactly where OR is going to have to play to. They're going to have to play to that A link. And they had a good little bait and switch set up between Corey's operator and the rest of his teammates that were in the area to just kind of work together to get the job done. And so they are going to take the lead back 4-3 and again put OR Esports in a tough spot economically.
Get out of my way.
Blades for Zeldris, really all that they have to play with here. Rolling Thunder, we'll see if there's a green light for that bit of utility. Maybe a little less than a bit of utility, a little bit more than a bit of utility, rather. Maybe there's a green button for that ultimate. Nilly takes some early damage. Zeldris back on top again. Recon Bolt reveals nature backside, but there's just so many defenders here. Shots from everywhere. Zeldris spinning here on the side is PureVNS also on the receiving end of a shot through the wall in this C site. A quick rotation for OR Esports. The defense is just here. Corey, good timing. Flash doesn't matter. Nilly is able to scoop up one, but Corey does it again. A shot through the wall. It took two, but finally, here goes down. Lear tries his hand with a couple of right clicks. Not enough here for TSM. Fifth, now on the board.
Yeah, again, one of those rounds where you couldn't expect much from OR Esports. They're really just relying on the Blade Storm and trying to run one of their flash and dash plays in B, but this time around, Nature was able to silence it. It forced him to backtrack to C-side where Corey was wide open arms waiting for them with that operator. Knocks him down and puts them up 2, but buyback now for OR Esports. They have a Rolling Thunder available on Jonah as well for a site take. And it looks like we are once again going to see one of these early skirmishes for control of A lobby for both teams. There's a lot of commitment here from TSM.
This early aggression, it was alluded to in the video that we watched. Seven said some of these rounds might be over in 10 seconds, and both of these teams are living up to that as once more the A-Lobby massacre goes the way of TSM as they push all the way through, and there's just no answer. Lear once more, the last man standing. In a 1v4 clutch, that's just not possible.
Bro, we talked about how fearless Koala Noob was last series. You see how fearless Corey is in that round? I mean, the dude's tanking nano swarm damage. He still wants to hold the angle with the operator. He doesn't even get to land a shot with it, so he sacrifices a lot of HP for not really any gain. And then his response is to pull out the Blade Storm, dash forward, and fight A lobby rather than retreat. And it's just one of those situations that can sometimes happen on this map where you kind of have to pick and choose your battles early as a defensive team. TSM was electing to go very hot and heavy at A early, which just happened to be the intended target for OR Esports at the same time, who have their own aggressive play style that we've been seeing throughout the course of this league. And so when those heads are going to butt sometimes, man, like you said, some of these rounds are going to be that fast. And it just so happened that Corey found a crazy timing to kind of blast past the Rolling Thunder and just light him up with the Blade Storm. That was crazy, man.
Keep momentum away. That was kind of the win condition for TSM against an OR team that might be a little more unconventional, have a little bit less time together. And they're making sure that, I mean, OR Esports can't even step a foot forward, basically, is what it seems like in some of these rounds. When TSM decide to change the pace, the game is TSM's to play. OR Esports, seemingly spectators at the start of some of these rounds. But we go back to it with the Rolling Thunder still available. PureVNS have that Cosmic Divide. The weaponry not the best. It seems like the B site once more gonna be under fire here. Smokes go down. Cloudburst goes out. GMD maybe not spotted. Still not spotted, but look at this, all an elaborate ruse. The problem with this elaborate ruse is it draws defenders to this side of the map from A. They're already on B. The hit's coming out towards C, and Corey's gonna have some reinforcements, but he needs them right now, and he just doesn't have them in time. GMD trying to find a timing through the nano swarm. The shrouded step, but it's not to safety. He's atop the platform, and Nilly will punish. OR Esports, they take a timeout, and they seem to have figured out this defense of TSM, but they're not out of the woodworks just yet. Oh my God, maybe they are, as Jonah takes matters into his own hands with an enemy rifle, and Nature seemingly forced to back away from this one. Tail tucked between his legs with a save on the mind, a 1v4. With credits to play with the fault line at his feet, and he's running out of time. No way, no how for TSM into this round, and OR Esports seemingly secure their fourth.
Yeah, this was a really weird one for me from TSM. I don't really know what Gamal was going for there with that shrouded step to the C platform. I mean, things started out well for TSM. They get that opening kill on B against Zeldris. We immediately see OR's pivot to a C hit. Unfortunately for Corey, he's going to miss his first op shot and immediately get taken down. Great shot by Jonah in that regard. But after that, I feel like TSM, for some reason, tried to force an issue that they didn't need to. Like, they were still in a 4-on-4 after Corey goes down, and instead of gathering up together for a retake with superior firepower, Gamal just kind of went for a weird play, and it didn't work, and then the dominoes fall. That was an odd one for me.
Kind of a case of comfortabilities. TSM seeming that they had full control of the game, maybe biting off a bit more than they could, playing a bit more aggressive than you would expect. I don't blame them. It had been working.
You should run.
This time, again, this one, anything but a fake. 2 ultimates invested here. Becky wants to go aggressively, but will be stalled out. Nano Swarm to make sure of that. Hunter Shuri now coming on through it. It looks like this one, for a second, wanted to go onto the lockdown. Now Nature just headhunting, and he'll find Jonah. So a player down. We've seen this go good. We've seen this go bad, but this B has been anything but 100% for OR Esports as Eldris finds himself on the site.
Yeah, he's on the boosted position. Everyone else is playing offside over towards middle. So that's what the difference is here. Now they have control of a link area with Eldris pressing aggressively, and he finds the kill on Campeki, and that could be what saves them.
7 though, gets one back. 2 players here inside garage. It's always 7. It's always GMD working hand in hand. And finally, the play out towards mid. It's starting to work. But 2 players to worry about here for GMD as Nature walks on up. Completely unexpected. A player here in the corner, and it's Nilly to scoop up 2 rounds of his own. Stacks them together, and Corey forced to head for the hills. OR Esports once more seemingly have a read on this TSM defense.
Yeah, again, I think the big difference maker here for OR Esports in the post plant was that they were not pigeonholed to just playing B from middle, with Zell just making that move into the link towards C side of the map and getting the frag. It gave them a little bit more breathing room to work with all across the map to have that post plant hold. This frag is so huge because now it forces to scramble. Pure is able to establish a crossfire. Nilly is able to kind of just stay hidden. I mean, it just all comes together because Zeldris is able to make that push. Without it, I think it very easily could have gone the way of TSM.
Track them down.
And some angles going uncleared. TSM, GMD at the very least.
That was also Zeldris' first kill of the game, by the way.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it because we cast our curse DSG last game in Zip. We did it again here to Zeldris, who's been not hot to trot. Anything but that, unfortunately. But maybe the confidence now starting to flow as OR Esports, a couple of rounds together. GMD getting the read right in the face of the attackers here. 7 gonna pop the nanos to try and buy some time, but that site's already been taken. Meanwhile, Nilly goes down and will be forced to IGL from the sidelines.
I mean, TSM's had this happen a couple of rounds, though, man. They've had, what, 3 different 5 versus 4s that they have actually lost. So they need to make sure that they keep themselves composed here and organize this retake effectively. Good paranoia trying to set up their jet to get into sight. 7 keeping Zeldris at bay at middle.
Yeah, Zeldris playing the long con here. Pure never gonna get cleared. The shots through the box, they land for 2, but it's all up to the young gun who found his first kill earlier here in the rounds, expecting the player inside garage. There's 2 to his name, and it's the operator on the other side. The spike's halfway, the dash across, so he's got the information, a jump peek. He'll stay alive as Corey gonna hop onto the spike once more, and the time continues to tick as there's ice in his veins. It's Zeldris for the eBay clutch.
Yeah, Zell just really turned it on the last couple of rounds. He was at 0 kills for pretty much the entire half. In the final 2 rounds, he comes with a huge impact frag on a post plant, and then that round he comes up with a massive clutch. So you have to respect the composure of someone like that. I mean, a lot of people, if they were, you know, 0 kills with only 2 rounds left to play in the hat, they'd probably be mentally out of it, but he was just not going to be kept at bay, man. He kept up the aggression. He kept doing what he was supposed to do for his team and eventually delivers on a couple of big moments to keep this thing tied up.
6-6 at the half. OR Esports still in this one. Some would argue, though, the attacking side could be a bit favored here on Haven. We'll see if TSM also feel that way or if OR Esports can show us stalwart defense. A recall on the smoke here. Zeldris almost gets something done. Good damage on the Nature. He's going to have to play safe away from this one. Meanwhile, 7 almost getting caught up the timing, just escaping here. OR Esports at the top of the round, sure. Ahead in the round, sure, but they would have loved to have a bit more.
Now we're seeing the rest of TSM trying to close in on this C side of the map. They're getting some space, but they're not able to clear Nilly off the back. 7 goes down. Great grab ball there. Nilly's able to play off of that too. Nature and Campeki and Corey, though, just immediately pinstripe the kill feed and get him back into a 2-on-2.
Yeah, doable one here for TSM. Started a bit sideways for the team. Now Campeki gonna try and take matters into his own hands. No, instead it's Corey. Both players peek, and it's Zeldris, the one who falls. Lear in another clutch situation. Not as daunting, not as tall of a task, but still a 1v2. Only a classic. Both players spotted. Planted. Surely he just gets run down. No way. He finds a kill into Campeki, and look at this. 24 HP separates Lear from a clutch. Corey plays safe. Lear not gonna give up anything here. Both of the players low in HP. It'll only take a couple of shots either way. Hop up onto logs. Corey completely unnoted inside garage. He snuck away. And the spike's not planted for him. He's not gonna go for it. Lear's just gonna stick it, and this is everything that or Esports needed here for the clutch.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I would have liked to have seen Corey and Campeki play more together in that 2 versus 1. They kind of just gave him 2 1 versus 1s there. I think they could have positioned themselves a little bit better and kind of forced him to come more out. Like, that fight should have never happened. Campeki needs to force him to come more into the open space where he and Corey can play together off a trade. And then, yeah, like you said, also, Spike not planted for the position that Corey was playing. So, again, it's just that those finer details that TSM sometimes slip on that really hold them back considering how talented their roster is individually.
Not much more than you would expect here. Anti-eco for TSM. Smokes go out. They want to make this play out towards A. Lear gonna invest a drone here in this one. Tap onto the spike. Pure gonna find it in way of killing Campeki there. Now Nilly trying to pick up the pieces. The backstab, the aftershock. Damage comes the way of the Killjoy, sure, but still survives. Happy to tank that one. 7 now. The last one alive here for TSM, and unfortunately could not find the SMG and the kills in time. Nilly scoops up 3 for Esports. Find themselves a 2-round lead, and TSM now going to show us something on the attack.
Yeah, they're going to have the full buy here. Gets the bonus of OR Esports, so a chance to keep the game close with the superior firepower. No ults are going to be in play for probably another round or 2, so it's just going to be down to base utility and firepower. TSM looking like they want to fight for A control here pretty early. The Killjoy utility is going to be here to try to stall that. Might also see some aggression from Zeldris, who does have the Marshal. Maybe look to take a peek through sewers.
TSM, they've been giving the space out towards A. Killjoy turret, making sure nobody peeks without being noted. 7 can play the lurk up towards B. Can't go too far, though. Tethered to the utility. We'll just hang out for now. You know, all 4 players for TSM. They'll lined up out towards A. 2 nano swarms to start cooking off back into this info here from the turret.
Yeah, the turret will eventually spot someone here, but not before the fault line comes out to get space for Corey to dash into the site, but he gets melted by some of that nano swarm damage, and now he's stuck out in awkward space trying to still make something happen, but eventually taken down. Nature able to get 1, but still the kills are favoring OR Esports as the spike gets planted. They had the man advantage in this retake.
Yeah, damage dealt and completely separating Corey from his team. Meanwhile, 7 gets caught on the lurk. So the 3 players remaining for TSM are here on this A site. They want to try and hold on to it, not get too far from it. Campeki can find the first onto Zeldris. Now the odds are even as an aftershock will force the player out from Graffiti. A beautiful flash, and everybody was hit by it. But it's TSM who get it done in the end. A Pyrrhic victory, no less, but they bring us within 1.
Yeah, definitely probably came a little bit closer than they wanted, considering the firepower they were bringing into that round, and considering that they got some pretty early open space on the A side, but OR Esports made them grind that one out. Came down to kind of just a critical 2v3, actually. TSM was down a man at a point here, but able to find those final 3 frags and keep it close, but full buy back for OR Esports. Zelda's going to have the operator. He's choosing to bring it to A lobby via the way of sewers.
Right here.
This is smoke we've seen previously. Allows for safe passage here. Zeldris was hoping somebody was going to push through that smoke off the recon bolt. Instead, he takes heaps of damage, 17 HP, but an operator in hand is just enough for him to stay on his angle. Drawn out towards long. I don't think it spots anybody. Zeldris feeling comfortable to walk up here.
Yeah, he's trying to take the angle again, but Seven's waiting for it. That's easy pickings for him as he was up against a weakened target. That's going to cause the floodgates to open. TSM wasting no time trying to follow it up here with the attack, but Lear finding the timing onto Sewers. Jonah slips in under Heaven undetected, but Corey still finds the frag. How is that?
Wow, Kempeki both, no, not both, only one flash found. I don't know what caused the other one.
Oh
Was
my.
there a player in Heaven? I think Jonah flashed from Heaven, and Zeldris got hit by a second flash, and Corey was able to win the duel.
I don't know, man. That was wild. Like, it was actually Jonah that you're referring to that slipped in undetected and then lost the fight. Zeldris got taken down by Seven a little bit earlier inside Sewers.
Right.
So that was a weird interaction. There must have just been some type of miscomm or just some type of like slight timing where I think maybe TSM got a bit fortunate there. Because it seemed like Jonah should have had Corey dead to rights under Heaven, and then that could have been a whole different ball game at that point. But as it stands, TSM win that round. They tied things up, and they retained 4 players. So getting that economy bolstered. And yeah, this is Seven taking it down. This is it right here.
Flash?
I mean, I don't think that
And
Jonah
just
was
still
blind
flashed?
there. Yeah, I feel like he dodged it. He turned away. I don't know. That's wild. Corey got away with murder there, man.
Absolutely. And that is obviously just the bone. Well, I guess there was quite a bit of reinvestment, never mind, for OR Esports. So this one looks just as a bonus round would. So 2 bonus rounds basically in a row. And if TSM wanted to stop the momentum, that's a pretty good way to do it.
Yeah, Corey wasting no time with Gamon here trying to get some long A control. And they do force OR back. They didn't really get any damage off on them, though. They certainly come into this round with the better firepower here. It's just the couple of rifles and 3 sheriffs for OR Esports. This is the same kind of A-heavy default TSM's been doing time and time again while they just kind of trust Seven to guard mid. This time we have an aggressive push at C, though, from Pure, which is giving the rest of his teammates a little bit more flexibility to stack heavier towards A. They can still keep tabs on B with Nilly. And now B becomes a target for TSM.
Deploying.
Finished.
Only Nilly. Okay, only Nilly, but Nilly's going to be enough, right? Kind of your job as the pseudo anchor here is find your kill and get out safely. That's exactly what Nilly does. With the lockdown, it makes this round that much more doable.
Right here.
Tap on the spike will buy out the Hunter's Fury. Jonah still expecting somebody down. They're actually expecting this play to be out towards A, and unless Gimon
30 seconds
finds
left.
something, or Esports have a beautiful read on this. Rolling Thunder comes through, should allow for the fight down into Sewers. Meanwhile, fault line out towards A, and Lear survives. TSM have invested so much into this round, but they're just not getting anything, and finally they make their way onto the site, but they're met by the sheriffs and the rifles of OR Esports. As Seven now reeling in it all with 10 seconds left on the clock, will have to plant the Nano Swarm in a lockdown. It'll insist on trying to just take the duels here in a 1v2 with 33 HP. Not a great spot to be in, but if anybody could do it. Seven here of TSM's, both players just on his left. The stars come down, they expect to play out towards short. Now with nothing being heard, nothing being seen, it's expecting long, and Nilly plays inside the smoke, keeps his teammate alive, and OR Esports grab the lead again.
Man, Nilly having a big round there, catching that opening kill at B, slows down the attack. The Hunter's Fury completely kills the B execute, forces TSM to roll back into A, but OR Esports were well prepared for it with their personnel in perfect position to handle the attack and trade out efficiently, forcing Seven in a tough 1v2. Ultimately, does go the way of OR Esports, taking that slight lead now, but there's a lot of ults on the board for TSM. Again, dueling lockdowns are in play, but Nature has the ability to use Hunter's Fury to cancel out Nilly.
Same smoke allows for safe passage. Oof. A reveal, though, so now this one, Cat might be out of the bag here for this. As that dark cover subsides, there's going to be an operator holding the angle, and with that info, Lear wants to back away off the angle. Spots 2 players. Backs away safely. Fault line comes through. It should force off the angle. Corey out with the knives, and the upshot still lands. Zeldris was not stunned, and now he wants some more with knives of his own, but he has to answer to Nature. He gets cut down. But Nature had some blades of his own. Now a lockdown for the defense. trying to retake this site. Seven still sitting on his. Instead, it's a Hunter Fury to try and deal with this one. And that's exactly what it'll do. One more shot as the lockdown goes. Pure VNS. The tallest of tasks. And unfortunately, doesn't want to risk the economy. Looks like he'll back away from it.
Yeah, the big thing about that is TSM's able to do that without having to use their own lockdown. So yeah, they use Hunter Fury to cancel out the other, but they still have their own lockdown in play for the next round, which is kind of nice that they didn't have to spend it here in this moment. They just were able to get the better end of the fragging. Even with Corey going down early, that he still opened up the door for them to get some space on the site, and everybody else was able to collect. He was the only one that went down that round, in fact. So a really good trading efficiency there for TSM on the A site. We'll tie this thing back up at 9 apiece. Economy is going to be the name of the game here. Not a lot of it for OR Esports. Nilly able to buy a rifle. Pure stays one, but outside of that, it's slim pickings. Now, Jonah does have Rolling Thunder for retake, which could be huge. Seven, though, is going to have that lockdown that's at least secure than the plant, more than likely.
And there is investment. Pure leaving that round with a weapon and full shields means only had to invest in a couple of stars and could buy a rifle, I believe. That one went into the hands of Lear.
Yeah.
You see Jonah and Zeldris seemingly comfortable with full util inspectors.
Yeah, that op pressure that Corey just created has caused the rotation from Lear to try to reinforce C-Star. That smoke at garage window is going to further kind of put that pressure on the C side of the map and kind of keep these two players at bay. Still, though, we do have two defenders on the A site, and Jonah's not too far away, and he's got Rolling Thunder ready to go if his teammates need it. As TSM have often liked to really just test the waters here at A. The only difference is they threw an early feint at C first.
And that drone will reveal. Ooh, op shot goes wide. There's the Rolling Thunder. Heavy on the mouse. One was Jonah 6. Any bit of info. And that Rolling Thunder is going to make its way on through, and that's exactly what happens. It's Corey who gets punished for it.
Yep, and these two C defenders never rotated off of that initial pressure from Corey, so they're still here while TSM's trying to bounce back.
30 seconds
And
left.
this is going to be tough to get through.
Yeah, smoke down. Player logs. Lear's able to collect one. Pure somehow finds another through his own smoke. And the rest of the team is here. The rest of the team for TSM is only GMD. What a round for OR Esports. A beautiful read here. Stalwart in their defense as if they were stuck in the mud, but it worked perfectly.
And that really did. Really well done by OR Esports. That was a great Rolling Thunder to shut down TSM's attack on A, and they didn't over-rotate the C, right? They put one extra guy there. That was it. They still had good presence at A for the defense there, so they didn't really buy the fake that TSM was trying to sell. And then once TSM does try to pivot back to C, well, you've already created that rotation, so those two players are there ready to go. They just weren't able to break through, and so OR Esports do find themselves yet a round ahead. 10-9, close game. TSM calling the timeout here. Still up for grabs. I mean, both economies are fragile. The last 4 rounds in a row have gone back and forth. No one's been able to find a consistent success in this second half. So it's very hard to read where this is headed.
Yeah, nice little back and forth. Refreshing here. I don't know, again, if anybody was really expecting this OR Esports team to be putting up something like this kind of on their way out. Being down 0-3, but playing with nothing to lose. And to really just shake things up in Group B as a whole. And they're doing that here on Haven. So timeout taken. Way of TSM. Still have that lockdown to work with from the shadows still available. Nature, well, momentarily was the only one without a weapon. It is just going to be a stinger in the hands of the Sova. So not the best weaponry to deal with. Won't be a full arsenal here for TSM. One on the other side of our Esports. Sitting pretty with 5. Rifles alive. They want to go fast.
Yeah, they do. Look at this. Just really trying to pinch onto C, including the ult here from Gavon. Catches them completely off guard. Huge frags. Pure able to get one back and maintain control of long C, but there's still a man down on this retake.
And they know where one is. Nature gonna go fishing for the next 2. Only spots 1 of 2 though. Nilly still unnoted in their positioning. Flash available. And that rifle from Lear looked like it was trying to get out of dodge. He ran away for just a moment, but he comes back to try and help his teammate out.
Oh.
drone does collect. Information garnered. GMD now headed for the hills. No real way to get back in without having to run into 2 players or take the long way around. And although OR have made this one doable, a barrel spotted, a player killed. Here on the site, then Corey will make sure that the 2 1v1s go his way. We're all knotted up at 10.
Yeah, that was a really just haymaker ult from Gamon into the back halls, and it completely caught the C defenders off guard. I mean, so often you see From the Shadows used to get into A heaven or under A heaven or something along those lines. Not like this, and they also just went so fast C garage with the recon bolt being there for Corey to kind of guide him forward, but it got a little dicey when TSM decided to push back halls there. Like, they almost let that one slip, but luckily Corey able to hold on the site itself and tie this thing back up at 10 apiece.
And it's been a battle of rounds and a battle of economies that have been pretty darn good for this entire second half. We're seeing light buys from only 1 or 2 players. This time it's Jonah who has a Spectre, but the rest of the team has everything that they need to try and reclaim a lead. It's a Rolling Thunder through the A site, but it's vacant. It's open for occupants, and TSM will do that. They'll occupy.
Yep, combo of the lockdown and Rolling Thunder to make sure the site is clear and secure for the plant. Takes a long time getting this spike down, though, and there's still a player in heaven here defensively, but it's going to be that 5-on-5 retake, but Cosmic Divide could be a part of it.
And the setup here, Campeki under heaven. Utility to try and stall. It's full util here for the stall. Cosmic Divide gonna cut the A site from long and short, so the players here won't have help that way. Vault line queued up, flashes are out, Nilly gonna find the first. Now the Cloudburst come down, and Nilly does it again. When this player's playing well, so are OR Esports, and it's down to 2 for both, as Lear's been left in a clutch situation once more. Plenty chances here on Haven, here on the map. Now has another one here. A flash is out. Campeki not blinded. Lear, however, is, and TSM reclaim their lead.
Yeah, Campeki did a really great job there of cycling through his utility from under heaven position to stall that retake out with the aftershock, with the fault line. And yeah, there was a couple of kills that went the way of OR Esports inside the site, but Jamal uses a great paranoia to double up, and Campeki has his 3. So a full house of frags between those 2 players will put them at 11. And this was what was on the line, was the economy issue. That's why that round was so big. That's why TSM committed both ults to try to secure that victory, which they get. They know now that OR Esports is in a bind because they have to either elect to give TSM map point for free, essentially, or they have to force spy to survive the rest of the game, being around down, right? I mean, TSM are knocking on the door of a victory here. It's not been an easy one, certainly been very scrappy, but they do find themselves in a very advantageous position right now. And what is OR going to do to respond? That's the question. Like, how much do they want to invest here? What type of play do they want to try to see if they can tie this thing back up? I mean, this one's going to be so difficult. Looks like they're going to elect just to go for a couple of sheriffs, maybe rely on that Hunter's Fury as a stalling tactic of some sort to provide quick rotations. But they're going to have to gamble here. Playing standard with this setup is not going to cut it.
I'm looking at that Hunter Shuri, the only ult available for both of these teams. And this might be the best time to just try and send it and get something done here for the team. Use that tool. You only have that classic in tow. You don't have to worry about the lockdown.
Ooh.
It's gonna be an aggressive push. Dell just dealt with. GMD does it again. Another 3K on the round, and they gambled. They tried to take the space. They tried to take the fights. It's GMD who wins it out. Jonah 6 trying their darndest to make this round winnable for OR Esports. Once more, it's Lear at the bottom of the mountain, and it's 3 players tall.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's one of those rounds where if you're OR Esports, you don't really have a choice but to try to go for some type of gamble like that. Just didn't pan out. Come on, well prepared for it. Triples up. That's pretty much the round done. Means Hunter's Fury can't really even stretch its wings to try to have impact, but the one thing going for OR Esports is at least they have that ult next round, and they will have a full buy. So there is still a chance to get a couple of rounds in a row and force an overtime here. But TSM are in the driver's seat. They're the ones controlling things now. Took a long road to get here. Let's be honest. It's been a very back and forth affair. I mean, I don't think we've ever really seen more than 2 rounds of separation for ages at this point. It's been very
If
nitty-gritty.
anything, it wasn't since the beginning of the game. You
Yeah.
know, a couple pistol rounds and stuff. Maybe 5-2, 6-3 at one point. But yeah, it's been neck and neck. And the rounds have been so close that we haven't been in this conundrum of one team loses, is forced to save, then can buy, then forced to save. It's been both teams taking huge hits economically. This time, it's a utility hit, fault line onto 4. Zeldris is aggressive. This could be everything for OR Esports. They're all stacked up, but does he know he takes the first? Can't find the second. A 1-for-1 trade, and the Jets are off the board.
Hunter's Fury trying to come in to collect more. It does, I think, get a tag onto Campeki, but it doesn't actually finish the job. And so everything kind of stalemates at this point. TSM maintain control of A lobby and long. They still have a 4-on-4. Now, Campeki is very vulnerable with his HP, but Gamal still has ult. He can still use it to maybe try to backstab this defense or make things difficult or transition to spike quickly if need be or just whatever he wants. But they're going to test A. There's only 2 people here, but his paranoia is likely not... Oh, no, it does hit. Okay.
Yeah, hits the first, doesn't find the second. Shrouded step. Unfortunately, that one again, not to safety. Rolling Thunder up close and personal, but Seven's unaffected. Meanwhile, the rest of the TSM are stunned up, sure. Feeling a little bit dizzy after that one. But a player ahead, Campeki, needs to be careful sitting on 22 HP. 22 health separating this one from a 2v2. Meanwhile, Nilly on the back lines, and Campeki's got help. He thought this was going to be a free kill. There's going to be one more behind it. Nilly seemed ready for it. But it's all up to Lear once more. A 1v2, a tag onto one, the information on the other. Spots the nanos to come on down. Those will be dealt with via shock dart. Looks to run down 7, but he plays the wall perfectly, and TSM have done it. Back and forth we go until the very end. 23 rounds is what it took for TSM's map 1 win.
Yeah, it was definitely a very scrappy game. There was definitely some situations where I feel like TSM tried to overplay their hand, and it kind of came back to haunt them. But what I will say is when rubber hit the road on that final stretch, you did see TSM come together and effectively close the game. Like, they played the final 3 rounds really well. Definitely tightened up, like, in those critical moments to come up with the W. And, you know, tip your hat to them for that.
Yeah, not to have this one lean either way from individual players at all. I feel like for TSM, when this game was close, everybody doing well. A bit slower of a start from OR Esports, and you come out the gate swinging a bit more, and this is, you know, could be a 13-10 victory their way. We saw Zeldris heating up towards the back half of the map, and almost, you find that kill on Campeki there as well. He chipped him down to 22 HP. We saw it in the first series, and we get it in this one, where the losing team, although this one a bit closer than what we saw earlier, is just missing out narrowly in a lot of these rounds where it's a timing here or it's extra damage there, and who knows how round 23 plays out should Zell just get 2.
Yeah, I mean, most of that game was rather chaotic and came down to just like a couple of critical kills in the mid to late round. Again, it wasn't really until like the final 3 rounds or so where it really felt like TSM had kind of hit their stride and were like dictating the pace a lot better. But even that final round was critical because they were all gathered up in that smoke, and if Nilly lines them up, then all of a sudden, or Zeldris lines them up, all of a sudden it's a whole different story. But they're able to trade 1-for-1 there and then play it smart from that point forward to get the W. So again, tip your hat to TSM that they've made a big roster move midway through the split. They're trying to sort things out after a bit of a cold start, and even though that one wasn't the prettiest victory, they still got the W regardless and are still looking to try to be a factor in this group.
Yep, that they are 1 map down, quite possibly 2 maps to go. I mean, this first map not telling at all as to how this one will end up. It's all up to OR Esports, so to find this reverse sweep in our 3-map series, or for TSM to close us out 2-0. But all of that comes after this short break.
Do you want to ask your favorite player a question after their match? Forget their in-game settings? The Fan Zone encompasses fan banners, a player settings channel, and a lot more. Here's how you can join to gain access to interact with fellow fans, cheer on your favorite team. Firstly, join the Discord at pks.gg/discord. Select NA Challengers Fan Zone. Pick your favorite team from the drop-down menu. And don't forget to show off that banner in Discord and on your socials. And that's it. You're in. You can now interact with fellow fans, ask player questions, and rep your team properly.